Hello, everyone. Welcome to Feedstuffs 365 on this cold Friday here in Northern Illinois. Anyway, we have meteorologist Greg Soulje with us to give us the forecast. Hey, Greg, how you doing?
I'm all right. Yeah, good observation. It's cold. It's like I tell people on the radio, it wouldn't be a bad day if it were January 5th or February 5th, but it's December 5th. We got a lot of snow on the ground, a lot of cold, and no sign of either one really completely moving out of the picture here. I think that snow block that you see out there on the side of the road is likely to stick around for the next couple of 2 or 3 months, and a wide range really of weather and temperatures that will help to fuel an increasingly active, not stormy, and we'll talk about that going forward, but a pretty increasingly more active weather pattern for the plains and Corn Belt. We'll talk about that in just a second.
Well, your slides are up, so we will let you get at it here.
All right, off and running here on a Friday, and it is the extreme cold relative to, we're not even really officially, obviously, into official winter, the astronomical version, meteorological, yes, and just 4 or 5 days into it. So the cold is pretty extreme. It's another great example under clear skies, light wind, a bunch of snow on the ground, and boy, readings were down as far south as Champaign, Vermilion County in east central Illinois at 0 this morning. Pockets of sub-zero cold in northern Illinois, and yesterday morning, widespread sub-zero cold into the upper Mississippi Valley portions of Minnesota, as well as Wisconsin, where temperatures are beginning to modify and moderate. Clouds are on the increase, and it is a myriad of weather systems on the move here from northwest to southeast, and we'll lay out that upper air pattern going forward. Pretty straightforward weather pattern, and once again, be careful and cautious of what you may be clicking on out there in the social media world. Some sites reliable, like us. Others, well, just kind of slap some headlines out there and walk away from it all. Talk of a big storm later next week. No, bunch of weather systems on the move, and we incrementally add to the snowpack and snow cover. Yeah, Clipper-style weather systems out of Western Canada and the prairie provinces of Alberta. You folks have probably heard about that before, especially livestock operations. Anyway, the snow cover is widespread across the northern plains, protecting some of those fields. It's a tough and slow go still in some of these even Corn Belt locales, and where there is substantial snow on the ground from either a rural travel standpoint, getting movement of feed and supplies. You got to keep an eye on those water lines in this kind of cold, and there will be several more bouts of this type of cold. In contrast, virtually nothing, although we had a little snow a couple of days ago in the parts of West Texas and cotton and livestock country and the Oklahoma Panhandle. That has since faded away. That's a weather system that is moving east and bringing some significant rainfall over the southeastern states and the season's first significant snow in the mid-Atlantic region. So there is a lack of significant snow cover in the central and more so southern plains, obviously. But that may be an area of the country and the heartland that stays relatively mild and relatively easy to take from a livestock managerial standpoint. Different story up through the Dakotas, Montana, the upper Midwest, and southeast across the Corn Belt. As mentioned, low pressure making its way through the deep south and southeastern states this afternoon. And the first snows of the season in the higher elevations of Georgia, South Carolina, and they'll run up through the Appalachian Trail over the next 24 hours. Drought is still the big story, but we've had three significant rain systems the past 10 days, 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks over southern areas of Alabama, Georgia, the Florida Panhandle, kind of the south edge of Cotton Belt country. And so while they are in the tough D3, D4 category, that's the upper echelon of that drought monitor, there's been some modest improvement going on there. And we'll take a look at the Midwest drought scene. And folks may think, well, we're in the wintertime and there's a bunch of snow on the ground. I think I saw stats that we'll share here momentarily of how close we are to maybe into parts of east central Illinois, for example, laying out the seasons, the year's driest precipitation totals seen in parts of Champaign County. We'll take a look at that in just a second. Across the western Pacific Northwestern parts of the country, drought's still the issue in many areas, especially across the Pacific Northwest, parts of the Southwest, although we did see some improvement of late. And it's the direction from which weather will be coming from. When temperatures and jet stream values increase, temperatures drop up aloft in the Pacific Northwest. The old school rule of forecasting was folks downstream in the parts of the plains and Corn Belt had to keep an eye on a series of slight snow systems in the third or fourth in the row tended to kind of become a little more significant with regard to laying out cold air and snow cover and snowpack. There is the satellite picture with a lot of cloudiness and or snowpack across the middle part of the country. And the surface map as a result of that shows some rain and some snow, and generally light snow making its way out of the Red River Valley of the North into the upper Mississippi Valley, Western Lakes region. You can see some of that rain over the southeastern states. It does shift over to snow on the higher peaks of the central Rockies. Pretty quiet weather pattern across the southern plains, as mentioned, southwestern states, and into the Pacific Northwest. There we are as we head through this afternoon, and snows will be on the increase. The first of two to come through the upper Midwest, northern and eastern plains, Corn Belt locales. You can see the organized rains down through Dixie and significant moisture back into play for the Pacific Northwest. As we get in through tonight, a little mixed moisture for parts of northern Illinois. The snow and rain expand across the Pacific Northwest. And still some wet weather over the southeastern part of the country. And the snows continue to blossom with another wedge of Arctic air up north of the border. That's another Arctic air mass beginning to settle southward with another kind of weak front making its way through parts of northern Illinois. A couple of snowflakes, brief light snow and rain, and perhaps some freezing rain showers in the parts of the Ohio Valley and lower lakes region. Then tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening, that second wave comes out of the northern plains. Again, these are clipper style systems. They are not significant big-time moisture makers. They tend to be a little energetic. They work on whatever moisture they have. So this will tend to be these fluffed up, low moisture content snows. And they tend to accumulate fairly quickly. And they'll be doing just that during Saturday morning in the northwestern reaches of the Corn Belt, moving into the Midwest during the course of tomorrow afternoon, Saturday night. And they're still making their way through the rest of the eastern Corn Belt, and maybe a little mixed rain from I-70 on southward Sunday morning. And the likelihood will lay down probably between 1 and 4 inches in that corridor, probably as far north as the Twins, as far south as Kansas City, southeast, let's say down to about the I-70 corridor, portions of Indiana, back up towards the Chicagoland area, southeast Wisconsin as well, and in this lower Michigan, probably the more substantial corridor of snow somewhere around or just west and north of the Interstate 80 corridor, probably a good solid 4 inches there. So wintertime continues on. There's the precip layout the next 48 hours. Water equivalency of that snow should be, again, on the light side at 1/10 to less than 1/4 inch. Moisture in the southeastern states and an array of rain and snow into the Pacific Northwest. There's the drought monitor. And we're in, okay shape across parts of the plains, worsting a little bit into areas of Oklahoma, western and southern Texas. There is a southeastern corridor of drought-related issues. But again, I think in the subsequent following drought monitor updates, there should be generally a shift from D3 to D4 to maybe D2, D3. That will put us back into probably some sense of at least a moderate or more likely extreme drought. So we're kind of making improvement in the southeastern part of the country. You can see the Corn Belt locales, a wide range of soil moisture levels, and there's still a fair amount, obviously a lot of snow still on the ground across the Midwest. Some of the heavier snow totals still on the ground, 8 to 10, I-80 of Iowa north to just south of the Minnesota line. A wide swath of 6 and almost better than 6 inches still on the ground. Many areas of northern and central Illinois, northern Indiana, up into Wisconsin and Michigan. We take the water equivalency of that. There's about 1/4 to 3/4 of an inch of water kind of sitting in some of that Midwest snowpack and snow cover. So back to that East Central Illinois dryness related issue. So we have that moisture sitting in the ground. If we don't pick up another roughly 1/1500ths of an inch of moisture, let's say in Champaign County, that may go down 2025 as the driest year on record. At least that's according to the Illinois State Water Survey out of Champaign-Urbana. We'll see what transpires. And I know that's East Central Illinois. It's a small area, a local area, but it's testimony to some of that ongoing dryness and drought through much of Illinois, Indiana, Ohio that we did not remedy during the course of the fall season. There's a snowpack for you that we just talked about, widespread north of I-70 at 6 inches or more still on the ground, lesser total south of there. Pretty good ribbon, but it's shrinking north of I-80. Let's see, Ankeny, over towards Des Moines and maybe Iowa City. A little bit of a drop off west of the Twins. Then it picks up across the Dakotas. Not much to speak of. Hence, we got to keep an eye on these cold air surges, which I don't think are going to impact much of the southern plains. And what's there should be melting away in days to come. The weather hazard, so there's no big winter storm. First of all, let's just kill that off because that's been kicked around on some of the social channels out there. There's just like taking this GFS model, slapping it out there, And that thing can often be in this range. And the way that the pattern is set up, it just can't pick up these waves and program them or forecast them correctly. We just don't have the data points out there. The more upper air stations you have, the better the ability you're going to put some numeric forecast together. But that's probably not going to happen anytime soon. There's the likelihood of significant wind and snow out through livestock country of Wyoming. Higher ranges of Montana back into the Pacific Northwest. Pacific Northwest is actually good news as we continue to improve dryness and drought out there. So going forward, 1 to 3 inches of rainfall winding out of the southeastern states. Snow in the forecast for the northern plains, much of the Corn Belt over the next couple of 2 or 3 days. The cold air surges following behind. Clear skies, light wind. You know what happens with temperatures. They bottom out. Keep an eye on those water lines. And across the western states, dry weather for California and the Pacific Northwest still stays pretty active, as evident the next 7 days out there into the northern and central Rockies. That is significant moisture, including high elevation snowfall. You take 2 or 3 weather systems, you melt down the snow out of it, and we'll come up with probably 1/4 to 3/4 of an inch. So that means there are at least 3 snow systems. This is looking ahead into the middle part of next week that will impact the northern plains, the Corn Belt, Great Lakes areas, and points southeast, a little mixed rain and snow south of I-70. And there'll be a little more mixed moisture to the system that comes through early next week and to a lesser degree mid next week. But we will continue to refreshen that snow cover and snowpack, if not add to it. It's not going away anytime soon, so do the best you can with it. Going forward the next 7 days or 5 to 7 days on the upper air chart, persistent and very fast upper level wind flow with quite a range of temperatures at the surface and up aloft. If you want to escape winter, head into the desert southwest. If you enjoy winter, just stay right here in the Midwest and the plains and points on northward, with temperatures kind of ebb and flowing. Some days maybe 3 or 4 below average, most days 5 to 10 below average, and some days 10 to 15 degrees below average. What's what the snowpack will do for you, and tapping into these little parcels and pieces of Arctic air, of which you can see one built in on Monday, probably some sub-zero cold or close to it. Iowa, parts of Illinois, Wisconsin, the Great Lakes region. Quick turnaround, the winds pick up, and tough to say it gets warmer. Yeah, temperatures come up back into the 20s and 30s, but you've got a 20+ mile an hour wind. The wind chills are still down in the single digits, teens and lower 20s. So I don't usually use windy and warmer in wintertime in any forecast. Temperatures will moderate, and that'll be the story. You can see 2 weather systems, one on the move between Tuesday and Wednesday, another system coming through for Thursday, gone by Friday. Each one should lay out some degree of additional snowfall with those weather systems early next week in the I-80 corridor, a little mixed moisture. Here's a look at the temperatures for tomorrow. They're laying out like this. What a range. If you have no snow cover on the ground, you can still get a little winter sun going, and you get into the 40s and 50s across some of the livestock areas and winter wheat areas of Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. Stuck in the snow cover, the snowpack, renewed snowfall, teens, 20s, and lower 30s out of the northern plains. There's a nice bump for you. This is ahead for Tuesday next week. Maybe a little melting and thawing going on over some of that snowpack into the western Corn Belt, pushing 50 or higher back west of the Missouri, assuming there's no snow left on the ground there. And temperatures briefly try to attempt in the Mississippi Valley return to more seasonal levels before this another shot of cold air moves in late next week. And that's daytime temperatures of the teens and 20s, when these are more realistic values for mid-January to February, not the early days of December. Cold weather is going to be the story during the nighttime hours, with lows by Monday morning back into the single digits to locally near or a bit below zero. Another push of Arctic air is expected as we move on through Thursday next week. Not quite the severity, but still bottoming out in the single digits and teens, while much of the areas west of the Missouri, generally 20s and 30s and 30s and 40s onto the southern plains. The next 6 to 10 days, it's this fast Alberta Clipper type setup. Systems wind out of that buckle into the eastern Pacific. They move into the Pacific Northwest. They run down the front range of the Rockies. They tap into the warmth and some degree of moisture in the southern plains. The Arctic air is poised not too far to the north. You wind it through the Midwest, and so one after another after another. They're not big storms. They're not headline-making storms. Not a lot of wind, not a lot of significant moisture with each one. It's these little nickel and dime, 1 to 3, 2 to 4, maybe some of the more substantial features going forward the next 10 days or 2 weeks, maybe a local 3 to 5 system that comes on through. So you incrementally add to the snowpack, and all of a sudden you get up one morning, you had 4 or 5, 6 inches of snow on the ground, and the next day you've got a foot and a half. hear about these temperatures, more or less cold wave weather still for the Great Lakes areas and Corn Belt locales, and pretty balmy. We'll look at these readings, and this is a problem. If we ever get into cold, livestock operations are going to have to be really notified quickly, and those winter wheat fields we got to keep an eye on as well. There'll be no snowpacks, no snow cover. And this is, again, kind of a trademark of La Nina. I think we have talked about this on subsequent get-togethers, where the moisture pattern tends to be not very conducive to drought improvement in a La Nina setup, which is a strengthening La Nina going forward here for the next probably 3 to 5 months. Significant moisture in the Pacific Northwest, Northern Rockies, a little trickle-down effect into the northern and eastern Corn Belt with time as we approach mid-December, the week before Christmas to New Year's, and into early January. Things will get ramped up. That shading of green, we think, will get, this is the government forecast, will probably begin to get laid out eastward across the northern and central plains and across the heart of the Corn Belt. Next live stream, we'll have our thoughts on the rest of the, or at least the winter season, what's left of it, lots to go, and go from there and update things, which I don't think there'll be a lot to update, but we'll keep you posted on what should be a kind of a character building winter season across the plains and Corn Belt. That's what I tell people on the radio. I mean, it always snows, it always get cold, you always got ice, but when it's raised to the next level, builds character, right?
It builds character. Yeah, that's what we need. A little character building around here.
Yeah. Whether it's on the farm or on the road, both apply. Both apply.
Right,
yeah.
Exactly. And I think you mentioned too to me before we started, we're going to have a little extra on going forward on our weather segments. Do you want to kind of plug that just a tad and tell folks what we're going to be adding?
Yeah, we'll just get some. We'll bring starting Monday. We'll start having at least some headlines. The main topics of conversation for South America, Argentina and Brazil, those big production areas, and they get bigger and bigger every year. The infrastructure gets a little bit better each and every year. They figure it out each and every year. And so that certainly drives our markets, and we're trying to move grains where we need to do that. So we'll bring you up to date on what's been going on and down the line of winter season, maybe some thoughts going forward as they move into a La Nina setup. We got to keep an eye on parts of Argentina, or they keep an eye on parts of Argentina that are dry and getting drier, and the rains in the short term continue on, and they're focusing on some of the drier reaches of Brazil. So we'll update that going forward with a couple of bullet points beginning here Tuesday of next week there, Sarah.
Yeah, always good to know what's going on elsewhere as well as and how it's going to impact the markets, because it certainly can if they're having situations or having a really good crop or whatever it might be. So Greg, we appreciate you adding that into your forecast, and we look forward to that next Tuesday. We want to wish you and all of our audience here a great rest of your Friday and a great weekend.
Absolutely.